How to stop worrying about what others think. In the last month of 2017, George vowed never to touch alcohol again at company parties. Every time he thinks back to that Christmas party, he covers his face in embarrassment. George works as a copywriter at a small PR agency. If you like the video and want to help us continue creating interesting content, we kindly ask you to consider the idea of subscribing to our channel and making a donation to support us. Your support is precious to us and will allow us to continue growing and improving our channel. You can do it here below, through the appropriate buttons, subscribe, and thanks. 16 people work in his office in various positions, including an accountant, a press officer, a human resources officer, and 2 social media officers. At the end of each year, his office organizes a Christmas party where large amounts of alcohol are served. It's also the day when employees receive their year-end bonuses, so there's a lot of fun in the company. That December, George's joy reaches its peak when he starts flirting with the elegant Miss Mary, his accountant. He barely remembers anything about their conversation except for the last part. Alcohol makes him more generous with personal information, and he opens up to Mary by telling her the most embarrassing story of his life, which he had never told anyone before. The story was about another beautiful girl, teenage acne, and a hug that may not have been a hug. Up until this embarrassing episode, George's seduction game should have been perfect. However, by the end of the story, her eyes had lost the light of laughter and turned into an expression of disbelief, which increased his embarrassment. Needless to say, the flirtation between George and Mary didn't go beyond the party. Moreover, as George walked through his small office, he imagined all his colleagues discussing the embarrassing events of his adolescence. Mary must have told them. He could have turned them into a comedy show. What did Anne, the new social media manager, think? Did she also think that what happened to George was shameful? Steve, the press officer, was laughing at his shame with his super cool friends. Now that they had learned about one of the most embarrassing moments of his life, they still had something to prove to everyone. By mid-2019, 18 months of George's suffering were finally buried. In a single conversation, he finally understood how much he shouldn't care about what people think of him. In today's video, therefore, we'll talk about what the protagonist understood about people's opinions of him, expressed or not. Why you shouldn't worry about what people think of you. The first thing to know is that every person always thinks about themselves. Sure, thoughts of those around you may appear in your head, but they still come back to you. For example, thinking about your friend's scarf and how good it looks on her can bring you back to capitalism and how it has treated you unfairly. Don't trust others' perceptions of you, because it's unlikely that these perceptions will stay with you for long. Think of them as a kind of meme in someone else's life. They'll look at you and laugh, roll their eyes, be understanding, ridicule, or even share. However, once the meme is over, it's unlikely they'll remember it again. It can be difficult to move on when you fixate on what others think of us. George wants to befriend Anne, his new social media manager. She must have a sense of humor. However, he fears what she thinks of him because he thinks she knows about 2017. This fear prevents him from asking her out for a drink and developing a good friendship. And that's precisely the problem, worrying about what those around us think. You can't seek new experiences if you worry about what those around you think. There's always someone who has an opinion on what you should wear, who you should talk to, etc. But, as mentioned before, it's unlikely that your colleagues or acquaintances will think about you for long, and if they do, their opinion will change quickly. So you understand how unrealistic it is to worry about their opinion all the time. Let's observe how long it took George to approach Anna. As George discovered, the other option is to do what you want. There will always be opinions and thoughts about you. They will always come out, so why not listen to them, or not listen to them, while you do what you love and set the goals you really want to achieve? Some family members and friends will tell you they know what's best for you. Would you like to give them complete autonomy in your existence if you could? Because they would make the best decisions for you? I don't think so. If you care about people's opinions on what you should do or how you should be, it assumes that they know what's best for you. Fortunately, they don't. You're in charge and in control of your life. To make decisions, you need to draw on elements from the environment you live in and your previous experiences. For example, to drink a glass of milk, a person must believe it won't hurt them. The environment we live in tells us whether it's safe to drink milk, and previous experiences tell us what will happen if we drink it. Therefore, it can be said that the only person who knows what's best for their own life is the one living it. People's thoughts and opinions are also based on their standards and values, not yours. And this ties back to the previous point. The reason why some people don't know what's best for you is that they base their decisions on their standards, their experiences, and their environment. As you've heard said, one person's poison is another person's meat. Who cares what psychopaths have to say about empathy? In the end, believing someone else's word won't change the outcome. It's like having someone else take the test for you. When the results are announced, your name will be next to theirs, not the name of the person who took the test. Of course, other people's ideas and suggestions can play in your favor. But before accepting them as truth, you should examine them critically. Adaptation can also work against you. If you make friends and your family accepts you for who you are, thanks to your uniqueness. If you turn into a person they agree with, who follows their principles and respects their standards, you can gain everyone's favor. However, if you become less yourself, your reputation might suffer. Uniqueness and authenticity are more appreciated than conformity. You also need to ask yourself. Some things can help reduce the impact of others' ideas on your life. Let's start from mid-2019, when George finally talked to the sophisticated Miss Mary about a previous drunken encounter. It had happened at a colleague's birthday party, and this time he wasn't the drunk one. Mary was still a sophisticated drunk, but above all, she was frank and honest, which gave rise to their conversation in 2017. She doesn't remember much of what happened at that office party, but she remembers that at one point he had a good laugh while telling her a story from the 90s. After that laugh, he became less enthusiastic. About his adolescence and eventually stopped awkwardly and left embarrassed. When she said this, George realized something, and the depth of everyone's egocentrism became evident. For almost 2 years, he had struggled with the thought of having disgusted his accountant by telling her a story that, on second thought, wasn't that embarrassing. However, she hadn't found anything special in the story and had only heard a story from the 90s. What he read as a reaction to himself was actually a reaction to himself. He discovered that shame played a significant role in his anxiety about what others thought. When we have standards that we don't think we meet or that we think others around us do, we feel ashamed of our behavior. Then we start listening to what those who respect the standards say about what's wrong with them or what they think they're saying, which can be understood from their words, actions, and everything they do. The secret is to start looking inside for what you seek outside. For example, George believed that his antics and embarrassing stories didn't do him any good because of the strangeness of the former and the awkwardness of the latter. However, if he had established within himself that these things were normal and acceptable for him, he wouldn't have been subjected to such mental anguish. Establishing life values and principles helps free oneself from shame. It also shapes a person's opinions, which should be more important than those of others. Such values include faith in a supreme being, understanding the importance of family in a person's life, honesty as the best policy, frugality, etc. So, if your work colleagues think you should eat out more often, respond by telling them your consumption principles. Use only when necessary and promote convenience. Use food only when you need it and promote convenience. That's why you bring lunch from home. After the embarrassment suffered, things seemed to improve for our good George. Anne was invited out for a drink, and Mary talked enthusiastically about her love for clowns. A lot. Which meant his problems with women were over. Maybe they're just beginning. Let us know about your practical experience regarding today's topic by writing it in the comments. And do not hesitate to ask questions, we will respond to the best of our ability. Do not forget to share your opinion with us and leave a comment. If you also leave a like, it would be great. Subscribe so you don't miss the next video.